Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's latest Mimio webinar series. My name is Travis Ring from Mimio, and I'd like to welcome you to our webinar this afternoon. Along with me today is Eliza Sterling, who is also from Mimio, and she will be facilitating our Q&A session later on in the webinar. So before we begin, like we always try to do, I'd like to do a quick sound check. So if I can get all of you to take hands and help me out here, I'd like to have you either put a smiley face there in the chat window down at the bottom left of your screen, or simply click on the smiley face emoticon right there in the middle panel. So that will allow me to hopefully gauge to see if we're broadcasting loud and clear globally. And thank you for those of you that have done that so far. So we look like we are good and perfect. So thank you, Jane and Janelle, so far, and everybody else that gave the indication there. So, all right, so we are very excited once again to present our fifth of 6 webinars that we have offered during the spring season. And today's webinar is getting more from your Mimio lesson, getting more from your lesson with Mimio. And our two presenters today, our co-presenters, are the wonderful and fantastic Lindy George and Claire Pavia. They are both very, very experienced educators with a lot of different backgrounds using technology in their schools, in their classroom. And they're going to be taking you on a journey today of showing you a variety of different traits of effective lesson design that really do a good job of encouraging student engagement, interactivity, collaboration, as well as those ideas that help facilitate assessment with the lessons that you make. So for those of you that may be members of our teacher community, which of course is MimioConnect, you may also recognize their outstanding lesson contributions from these two, which you can find very easily all throughout the site. So we're wonderful, and we're very pleased to have them on board today. So let me give you a brief introduction of these two, and we'll move on from there. Lindy is an instructional technologist for the Collier County Public Schools right there in wonderful sunny Florida. Her passion is to work daily in her district to support every one of her teachers in the effective integration of technology in their classrooms. Now, in her 34 years in education, Lindy has done it all. She's been both a classroom teacher, a curriculum specialist, and of course, now the instructional technology specialist. She's also a Mimio Master as well as a Mimio Certified Trainer, and is a very avid user of Mimio Classroom Technology. So welcome, Lindy. Claire is a wonderfully talented and very energetic first grade teacher at Cross Lutheran School in Illinois. She's taught a number of early childhood levels, including preschool, first grade, second grade, all those fun grades. Claire loves to incorporate technology in her classroom most every single day to further engage and enrich those kiddos and all the learning experiences that her students are able to take in. So she has a very innate ability, I think, to build fantastic learning resources and lessons that her students can use the various Mimio technology tools in their classroom. In addition, she's a very regular lesson contributor to the MimioConnect teacher community, and if you are a member of our community, you may well recognize her username, which is, of course, TP's Mommy. So we're glad to have TP's Mommy on board here. And Claire, much the same as Lindy, is also one of our esteemed Mimio Masters. So welcome to both of you. So before I turn it over to these fine ladies, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping details that we always like to go through in case we have some new faces joining us for the first time. So each of you should have a sidebar over on the left side of your presentation window. And throughout today's presentation, I'd really love for you to use that chat window down at the very bottom where it should show up. That allows you to ask any questions that you have, any of those things whatsoever. So as the questions and as time permits, we'll be addressing some of those maybe during the webinar, but more specifically during our Q&A session once they finish. So ask any questions. We want to challenge these two to everything. We want you to come away with a lot of things that you can use immediately. And then shortly after the webinar, with this being on a Thursday, we're looking at probably early next week. Each one of you that are in the webinar, as well as those that have registered, will be receiving an email that will have a lot of different follow-up items for the webinar, including a recording link. We are recording this. It's going to have the script, I guess we could call it, of the Q&A sessions. So any questions or any answers that were given, whether they're asked live or afterwards, those are all going to be collected and sent out to you. So you all have that as a reference. So be checking on that. And as with any of our other webinars, these presentations will remain available on demand on our site. I'll give you those links later on today. So we encourage you to sit back, relax, engage with Lindy and Claire, and ask all those questions and have a great time. So it's now my pleasure to welcome both Lindy and Claire. Ladies, go ahead and take it away, if you will.
Well, thank you, Travis. Hi, Claire.
Hi, Wendy.
So today we'd like to spend some time with you and talk about lessons and how we craft our lessons. We're going to go over how you can actually get Mimio Studio as well as Mimio Mobile, how you can get started using our wonderful community, MimioConnect. We're going to talk a lot about instructional design and those components that we try to consistently use in our lessons, and we're going to do that by showing you before and after lessons as great examples. And then at the end, we'll go back to Eliza for some Q&A.
This is Claire here. If you don't already have Mimio Studio software, you can always download the latest version by going to Mimio.com. Once you've installed it, you can either use the free full version for 30 days, or if you have a Mimio product, the software will be fully activated once you connect the Mimio device.
Now, if you're not yet familiar with Mimio Mobile, it is quite amazing. Let's start with engagement. What you're able to do is, as a teacher using your device, you're able to actually release your desktop to your students. So if Claire were in my classroom, I could actually release to Claire on a device that she had in her hand as a student, and then she would actually be able to control my Mimio at the board and literally my whole Windows desktop. Collaboration means that I can take any Mimio page. If I've created a Mimio lesson that's nice and interactive, and we're going to show you examples of this as well, I can push that out to up to 9 devices simultaneously. So I can group my students, and simultaneously all 9 of those groups can independently work from their device on that particular lesson page. I can see it in real time projected on my whiteboard. I can pull an individual child forward, use that as a great example, push it back, let the students continue, and then once I end that collaboration session, it collects all of the data from each of those instances and puts it in one ink file in my gallery. Pretty amazing. And then finally, assessment. We've all been using Mimio assessment for a number of years, and now not only can you use the Mimio clickers, but you can also use devices in the classroom or a combination of the two. So you can use your Mimio both, or you can embed your questions in your Mimio lesson and push those out to students. And now there's not only the multiple choice, but you also have the option of numeric, short answer, and short essay. So how do you get Mimio Mobile? Pretty easy. You actually can download a 30-day free trial to use in your classroom. The app that goes on your student devices is actually no cost. And so students can download the Mimio mobile app. The teacher can use the evaluation copy for 30 days. And at the end of that 30 days, then you can purchase a license if you'd like to have full functionality going forward.
MimioConnect is our teacher sharing website that Travis mentioned earlier, and it has many, many lessons that have been created by teachers just like you and I. Every lesson is free for the taking, and the lessons that you'll see today in our examples are lessons we found right on MimioConnect. When you go to MimioConnect, you can search for lessons by standard as well as subject area and grade level. So it's very friendly as far as searching for what you may be looking for. And we encourage you to check that out if you haven't already.
So Claire and I are really happy to be here with you today so that we can share some of the strategies that we've used when we're crafting lessons. Now, we have the great luxury of having each other, and we actually met on MimioConnect and have been working together for about 4 years. Sometimes we just send lessons back and forth between us to work on them. Sometimes we actually go online and work together collaboratively at the same time. But I can't tell you how much I've learned having a partner, having someone who can be constructive, who can look at my colors and say, well, and offer some suggestions or make some modifications or think about how I might make it more interactive in a different way. And so it's really neat to become a continuous learner as a Mimio user. We're always learning and we're always growing and we're trying new things. And again, it's so great to have a partner. So of course we recommend that if there's a colleague or someone that you even meet on MimioConnect that you can share with and have them help support you, that learning is just tenfold. It's amazing. Today we want to share lessons with what we believe are the most important components in instructional design that make our lessons complete.
There's 5 instructional design components that we're going to look at, and those are aesthetic, interactivity, instruction, originality, and collaboration. We'll walk you through before and after lessons to demonstrate how the inclusions of these components can impact the lesson and really make it complete. So the first 2 components of instructional design we're going to look at are aesthetics and interactivity. Aesthetics means the overall look, the colors, the placement, the page design. And then interactivity, provides opportunities for the students to engage with the lesson. Our hope is that the Mimio stylus is in your students' hands over 50% of the time. So we want to provide frequent opportunities for the students to practice the skill that we're teaching by letting them have the stylus. Let's look at a lesson on multiplication that was posted by a community member to MimioConnect. And as I show you the pages of the original lesson, think about the aesthetics and the interactivity. On this page, the user created it so that there were bubbles that you pop looking for matches of vocabulary words and definitions. And then the lesson continued where students were counting groups and how many in a group. And then in this way, writing it out as repeated addition, and starting that concept of multiplication using the number line to talk about groups again. And then the user also added a multiplication sentence, not a multiplication sentence, a story with multiple choice answers. And then problem solving at the end. And so we took that lesson and we focused our attention on the overall look, the aesthetics, and making the lesson also more interactive for students. So instead of the bubble matching, we wrote out the definitions and created a pool of answers at the bottom to match the definitions. So it's the same content, but you obviously notice the different layout. We also took it one step further, and when students drag up the correct answer, they can use this new Mimio Studio 11 feature where we added answer check reveals along the side there. You'll notice we took the original green, red, and white theme and incorporated it on the page, and in fact carried those through then on all of the pages of the remake. We tried to design the page to be neat and clean and easy to navigate. On this page, you'll see that we took the single example found in the original lesson and then added more opportunities for students to practice the skill. So that now on this page, it's more interactive where students can take the pen tool, indicate the group, and then again we added the chance to check it. And of course they would write with the pen tool again here the sentence that they drew for 7 groups of 3. Here we combine the concept of equal groups with repeated addition, which the user had spread out across a couple pages in order to demonstrate how they go together. So students would use the pen tool again to fill in the answers with 4 groups of 3, meaning 12 in all, and then we can check the answer again. And then use the pen tool again. Oops, made a mistake, so I just grabbed the eraser. So actually it would have been 3, and now I'm trying to write with my mouse, so it's not very neat. But you get the idea. And if the idea of the page layout seems overwhelming, think about the page as being a lot of text and a lot of shape. So all I've done is I've added a rectangle to the shape, to the page. I've added circles to the page. I've added text. I've added lines. Most of our pages are nothing more than shapes, maybe built on top of one another, and text. And again, you'll notice that nice clean layout, the colors that we've carried through. we added more practice, giving the students more of an opportunity to participate. I've got 27 children, and of course, all 27 children are waiting for that chance to have the stylus in their hand. So more opportunities for practice are always a good idea, keeping that interactivity in the lesson. Then here, I took that concept of the problem solving and added a couple on a page. I left plenty of room for the students to draw in the area selected there, and then again, an opportunity to check the answer right there on the page. And that's helpful, as Lindy will talk about later when you're using the collaboration feature. If I were to send this page out to the children individually for them to work on it, I want for it to be as self-checking as possible so that I can't possibly get to all 9 groups at once, and hopefully they can do as much of the checking on their own after they've completed the work. Finally, then we took the multiple choice question from the original lesson and changed it to a Mimio vote question to allow the teacher opportunities to check for understanding. We added a couple of those that would apply to the lesson content so that we really get a good idea of how our students are doing with the concept of multiplication.
That's awesome, Claire. And I want everyone to note that on the pages, and you'll see this again as we get to see the lessons that I'm going to walk you through, we do a lot of copy and paste. And so once we make something perfect, then we will group it together and then modify it. It makes it so much easier than to have that consistent look across the page. So I'm going to move on to the next 3 components of instructional design that we always try to work with when we're creating lessons. The first one is instruction. And what we mean by that is that we want to make sure that the person who opens that page, the teacher, as well as the student, knows exactly what they need to do on that page. So you're going to notice that on all of our pages, we always put a learning objective. And we want that learning objective to be student-focused. Those of us, or those of you who know anything about Marzano research, anyone who works with students knows that the student knows what they're going to learn throughout that page or that lesson, that they're more likely to understand what they're trying to do, and we're going to have better success, more bang for your buck, if you will. And on our objectives, we also want to make sure that we can see it. Is it observable? And then at the end, with all of our self-checking, we want to make sure that we can measure what it is that the student learned or the group of students learned on that page. We're going to sequence our work so that we start with a couple, and then as the pages go on, we give them more practice and a larger number of practice items. And you'll notice pretty consistently that we start pretty easy, often just explaining the concept, and we move across then to more challenging problems or information as we move. And then finally, under instruction, we want to give feedback so that the students know whether or not they got it correct. Originality for us, then, the next component, is that wow factor. When we open a lesson and you go, oh man, I wish I'd thought of that, that's what originality is for us. You'll see that we go through, I think Claire and I both used sections of time where some of our lessons look similar. We kind of get into a little wild rut, if you will, and then something sparks us, whether it's a lesson we saw or an idea or conversations we've had working between us. Our lessons will start to look a little different again. It's hard to stay original, and one of those places where we stay focused, we want it to be fun and interactive, and we want, when you open that lesson in front of your students, for them to go, oh, this is so cool. And then finally, collaboration. When we're creating lessons, we like to think about how our students will be involved with it. And if we were to push that page out so that groups of students could work on it on handheld devices, is there enough on that page? Is it interactive enough to give the students that opportunity to collaborate? So as we move forward, we're going to look again at an original lesson that we found on MimioConnect. If you want to skip one more page then. So when I was looking around on MimioConnect, what caught me on this was the color. When I saw the which one in the preview, I thought, oh, this is going to be so cool because the colors grabbed me. And so as we walked through this original lesson, this teacher did a great job of creating Mimio questions so that the students could either use a Mimio boat or a device, but there was no lesson in here. There were only the questions for students, and it was a great way to check for understanding. And so if we go on forward, I'm going to show you how we approach the remake of this lesson. And so you'll notice that one of the first things we did is we took the colors that were on the original lesson that originally attracted us to the lesson, and we used those colors throughout. And found some really fun fonts to write the contraction with, and then started the first page. So up in the top right-hand corner, consistently on our lessons, you'll always find the learning objectives, and it tells us what the students should be able to do on that page and how they can check for understanding. So if you click on that again, it goes away, takes it right back up to the top. On the top of this page, I just did an introduction of the concept, what a contraction is, and then gave two small examples of at the bottom. In the purple are continued directions. So in the first line, they're going to click on the word in the sentence that's contraction based on what they learned above. And then right below that, they're going to write the two words that make up that contraction, aren't. And then as Claire is writing with her pen, and I'm challenging her to do that for me, thank you so much, partner. You'll notice that on the right and the left of the answers that we placed, there's a check mark. Now in Mimio Studio 11, there are some amazing new tools if you haven't taken a look at them. And that's just one of the tools where I just took a shape and placed it on top of the word and then was able to click to get rid of, to make it disappear. Just that easy. It's like making your own animations, and it makes it so much fun to work in. So we animated those, and then we moved on. So on the next page, again, we start in the upper right-hand corner, continuing with the great colors. But you'll see not only is there a learning objective that tells the students that they're going to read the rule, and then they're going to pull from the box on the which one box on the bottom and do a sort. And it also then has an idea of how you might use this page and push it out to devices in the classroom so that groups of 9 students could work simultaneously. So we'll start by reading the rule, if you will, at the top. Again, this is a new Animate tool that allows you to just click and it pulls that information right down. We defined the 2 different types of contractions we're using here, and you simply pull out, and then we're going to sort either the 2 words or the contraction to match. And I continued with the check marks again and animated those so that you can see what the answers should actually be. And the students can self-check, or you as the teacher can, if you're doing it at the board, could have students come up and check after they've put their answers in. Do you want to continue? So on the next page, the colorfulness continues. And we start with our learning objective every time. And when you're teaching with one of these lessons, you want to make sure that you start with the learning objective so that you read it with your students and both you and your students know what you're going to do on that page. And so I will walk you through that. And there's also a collaborate on this page as well, because this page would work really well being pushed out with devices. So on this page, they're taking the pen tool, and they're going to write the 2 words that make up the contraction, should, shouldn't. So Claire with her mouse for me. She's getting better, isn't she? I was going to write should not. And I would have my students continue down the page, taking turns. You know when you hold that Mimio pen in your hand, that the kids are going to sit up straight and tall. If you're walking around with a Mimio pad handing it to the students, they're going to be waiting their turn. And then you'll see those check arrows, and you click on those, and the answers come out, just another animation. So here's my wow for this lesson. This is something I've never done before. On number 8, you simply drag it to the left, and you cover up the information that's over on the left. And here's a little more practice. Keep it going to the left a little more, if you will, Claire. And on this side, what we're asking the students to do is take the pen tool, and they're going to cross out the letter that's taken out when you're creating a contraction out of these two words, and then put the contraction there with a pen. So they'll come up and write, and then if you want to click on the check arrow, consistent through this lesson so the students always know how to check, it'll reveal the answer and what it should look like. Now I had such a good time with the colors on this one. All right, as we move through the lesson, it's time to introduce some more concepts. So this is a lesson you would start, of course, with the learning objective before you click, but that's okay, Claire. Thank you. So the learning objective is really just asking the students to read the rules with you as the teacher. They can come up and click. You can highlight important words using the Mimio pen and the highlighting tool. And you'd walk through those 4 examples. Very good. And then one more page of practice as we continue how important it is to give students opportunities to practice. In the learning objective, it tells the students that they're going to drag some clone letters at the bottom and create that contraction, and then they're going to check for understanding. So lots of opportunities for practice through this lesson. You can continue to add additional pages if you wanted to. So here we are now on the part that was in that original lesson, that check for understanding. And again, for those of us who are in Marzano districts, it's important that you check what students actually know. What have they learned? What do we need to reteach? We want our instruction to be well informed. So we've given lots of opportunities for practice in the lesson. And now whether students are using mobile devices in the room with Mimio Mobile, or you're using Mimio Vote clickers, or what if you don't have either in your classroom? Well, let's be creative. Let's go to low tech. Let's look at those whiteboards that you have where students can write on those individual whiteboards and hold them up. I've seen teachers do a really wonderful job with letters and numbers on individual cards on a little ring, and students flip and they hold up the answer they believe it is. You can have a student come up to the board, and Claire, if you wouldn't mind just grabbing the Mimio pen and circling the correct answer. And then you can click on the AD at the bottom, the circle, and you can check the answer. Just by clicking on that, it will show you the correct answer. So you don't have to have devices or Mimio Vote in order to use these pages, and it's so great to build in this kind of check for understanding in any lesson you do. It doesn't need to be at the end. You could be checking along the way to gauge that understanding. And if you continue, you'll notice that I just kept those colors moving, using the same colors that we used through the lesson until we got to the end. So we continue to look at our components. We looked at our originality, making sure that it was fun and interactive and engaging for our students in that way. We made sure that there was a learning objective on every page so that the student and the teacher knew what they were trying to accomplish, what we wanted the students to learn. And then we work really hard to make sure whenever possible that we add collaboration. What will work well if we were pushing it out and students were either working independently on devices or in small groups together to find those answers.
And now maybe you're overwhelmed and you're wondering where you could possibly start because this seems like so much. But as we've shown you throughout our examples, even though there's 5 components of instructional design, choose 1 to 2. We feel that aesthetics and interactivity are probably most important, and so those might be what you want to concentrate on more, and then maybe feel more comfortable building from there. Like Lindy mentioned before, find someone who you can bounce some ideas off of, and then activity back and forth, and allow one another to add to it until you like it. We're always available. You can find us on MimioConnect. Send us a note. And we'd be happy to help you out. But choose what you can to get started. Choose 1 or 2 of these and just add what you can. Take a lesson from MimioConnect. tweak what's on the page, make it work for you. Even though the lesson that I created was on multiplication, maybe you need to make it work for addition. So change the content. You don't have to reinvent every lesson.
Well, we'd like you to watch for a new group that will be forming anytime soon on MimioConnect, where we'll continue to work with lessons and show you great examples of lessons that have started and lessons that have been remade, as well as just amazing lessons that other Mimio members have put on. And we'll start to point out to our users those components of instructional design in other people's lessons so that you see lots of examples of what does it look like when a lesson is really interactive, and what does it look like when you've added collaboration or you've included instruction. Take advantage of the tools that are there, and I think that that's probably the part that makes it easiest for us. We use the alignment tool all the time to make sure that we're left aligned or right aligned, or our boxes are aligned at the top, so we don't have to just eye it and see if they're matched up. We take advantage of copying and pasting. When group is together, I will often group something together and paste it and then ungroup it to work within it, because it's easier to align when I have it that way. Know that there's an insert duplicate page, which is used all the time. I'll make an exact copy of a page, I think Claire does too, and then go in and tweak it because the colors are already there and the shapes are already there. And I can just take my content out and then remake what I need to. You'll see the consistency in our lessons that we're using the same colors and often the same shapes and possibly the same means of checking for understanding throughout that lesson. So I don't know about Claire, I'm pretty sure you do it too, Claire. On the very back, I'll often have a page that's just pieces that I'm going to use over and over again. I'll copy those pieces so I can grab them when I need them. Claire, any other ideas?
Yep, I think you hit it.
That's terrific. So we'd like to turn it over to Eliza then for some questions. Eliza?
Thank you, Lindy and Claire, for the great information. I'm going to go ahead and start with a question for Lindy. So can multiple students work on these at once? So
when you do,
I'm sorry. I think that's in relation to some of the activities that you had up.
Absolutely. Let's talk about a couple of different ways. We'll start with Mimio Mobile because we've been talking about that. It would be really easy if you have Mimio Mobile to take any one of these pages and push that individual page out to up to 9 devices. And so you can use iOS Apple devices or Android devices, and you can actually push that page, and then each of the groups sees that page and interacts independent of the other students. The teacher sees thumbnails of all of those up on the whiteboard in real time. And so then the teacher can actually see what each of the groups is doing and walk around and monitor and assist those kids. But another way, if you don't have mobile devices in your classroom, we have teachers save a Mimio lesson to a shared drive or put it on the desktop of multiple workstations. And as long as Mimio Studio is on that workstation, the students can go to individual workstations and work all the way through that lesson to the end. You just need to have them save it then with the name at the end or something at the end, again back to a shared drive where you can see it and be able to access those lessons when they're done.
Awesome. So kind of going on that as well, Lindy, is there a way to collaborate if you don't have handheld devices in the class?
If you don't have handheld devices, it's really about grouping together and having your students come up to the whiteboard or walking around with a Mimio pad and handing that to students. So they are still collaborating, but these don't print well, and so it doesn't make for a good paper pencil kind of task. It's really meant then to have your students with you on the floor taking turns and just keeping your pace going really as quickly as you can so that the students have lots of opportunities to work with that lesson page.
That makes sense. Great. The next question is for Claire. So Is there somewhere that you can get images or activities to create a lesson with?
To create a lesson with?
Yes, I think it's in lieu of just MimioConnect where you get the whole lesson. Is there a place that you can go to get pieces of it?
Sure. We have a gallery where if you look at my toolbar right now, I've moved my mouse over to what's called the gallery. And if you double click on that, it will open up a great tool where there's lots of images, reveals, multimedia objects, sounds, real pictures, clip art, all kinds of things that you can drag and drop right onto your page, and that is very helpful. Also on MimioConnect, there are then packs that have the suffix of .mcf. Mimio lessons have the suffix of .ink, ink file, but anything with a .mcf in its name is a gallery file, and those will all be some kind of either a lesson or an object, maybe even borders, maybe templates, anything that has an MCF would go to your gallery, and there's all kinds of packs out there that are very helpful.
Awesome. That's nice to know. A question that kind of goes along with that as well, Claire, if you want to take this one as well, is I'm new to Mimio. Where do you find the reveal boxes? Are those also in the gallery?
Some are. I just saw a question pop up, where do you get those packs? That would be on MimioConnect. So if you were to go to MimioConnect, you can search for, I would type in the word gallery or MCF. I know a lot of times when Lindy and I put any kind of gallery file up there, we make sure that we tag that. And so if you're looking for, let's say, presidents, I would type in presidents images or president's gallery, president's MCF, and hopefully if there's something out there, it would come up. Don't get too specific, as with like a Google search. If you get too specific, you narrow down your search results. But as far as finding reveal boxes, if you went to MimioConnect and typed in reveal boxes or reveals, you would probably find whatever gallery files are out there that may be added to your gallery in order to have reveals. However, and I'm just going to open it right now, when your gallery is open, mine takes a second to upload just because I have a lot in it. Up in the search box, if I type in reveal, in the multimedia folder, here are all of the reveals that are either automatically in my gallery, or there's some that I've created special and added them to my gallery. And then again, they're just a drag and drop onto the page.
Awesome.
Claire, can we add to that? I'm sorry, Eliza. Can we add something to that, Claire?
Yeah.
Would you do me a favor, Claire, and just create it, just take a shape from the toolbar, make a shape, a square or a circle or a star.
Yeah, I forgot. I was thinking of that, but then forgot, lost my train of thought.
That's okay. And maybe put a fill color so we can see it. So Claire has just gone to the toolbar and created a shape. And if you just click on that shape, you can either right click, and we'll just do it that way, and go to animate. And this is one of the new tools in Mimio Studio 11 that we love. So here is fade in and fade out. If you do fade out and click on OK, it'll put the blue box around it, which means that it's now an animation. Okay, if you want to just lock it, or why don't you put it over the Mimio Word, if you will, just drag it to the bottom, and let's put it over something that's, there you go. And then let's lock it so that the blue box goes away. And now you simply click on it, and it fades away, and you click again, and it comes back. So that is the coolest new tool in Mimio Studio 11. The places in the lesson where we had the circle with the question mark, literally just made a circle, used a text tool, made a question mark, put it on top of it, and grouped those together so the students would know that that was an answer and not just a box on the page.
That's great. So another question that kind of goes along with that too, and you kind of just showed it actually, Claire, but with the, some of the people were saying that they really liked the border that you had. And where do you guys get the border? Is that just through the shape feature, or are you getting those available also in an MCF or through the gallery?
Yes, if you earlier during the webinar, I talked about how a lot of what we put on the page is shapes and text. So all this is 3 different boxes. You'll see there's one with a purple outside, and actually if I unlock what's here on the page, you'll see it a little bit better. So there's this one, and when I click on it, over here on the toolbar, you can see that it has a purple outside and no color on the inside. And then there's this orange one that I laid on top of the blue. The orange one has an orange outside and no color on the inside. And then there's a blue one. And you notice that the blue one has a wider thickness, and that's because I've used this slider that makes the box thick and thin. And then again, we just laid them on top of one another, and there you have it. And then these that we added to the pages, they're nothing more than shapes that we laid on top of each other.
You guys are so creative. I love it.
And I want to mention copy paste here works so well. So if you get a border that you like, you can either do insert duplicate page and it's 10 pages ready to go so that you can just have that border in exactly the same spot, or you can copy and then paste it to the next page and paste it to the next page and continue. So you don't have to remake it each and every time on a page.
Nice. Great. So we have time for one more question, and Lindsay, I'm going to pass this your way. How do you make sure that your lesson doesn't become too long?
You know, that's such a great question, and you need to know your students in your classroom. Just because the pages are there doesn't mean you have to use them. And I think that when you bring a lesson from MimioConnect, and it may be an amazing lesson, you can choose to delete pages out of the lesson and resave it with a new name. You can simply choose to skip them. You'll get a sense after you use Mimio Studio with your students a number of times about what your pacing is like, depending on how difficult the concept is that you're teaching and whether the students are brand new, just being introduced, or whether it's a concept that you're just practicing and you're trying to pace pretty quickly with your students just to see if they've got it and give them those opportunities for practice. And so I would say use your best teacher judgment, and if you're losing your students, if they're getting antsy, you either move on to another page, you save it, and you reopen it the next day and continue along. But just because it's there doesn't mean you have to use it. So I think it's important just to keep that in mind. You know, it's hard when they get there and you find a 25-page lesson and, it's just too much for your kids. So trust yourself. You're going to be good with this. You already are with all the other content that you teach.
Nice. Great. Well, thank you so much, Claire and Lindsay, for your wealth of knowledge and creativity. For any questions that we weren't able to answer on this webinar, the answers will be available in the Q&A notes in the follow-up email that we'll be sending out early next week. I think at this point, I'm just going to pass it on over to Travis. So back over to you, Travis.
All right. Hey, thank you, Liza, and wonderful job, Lindy and Claire. You guys all do a phenomenal job of showing exactly how you can make things happen here, so thank you. So there was a late question coming in about the PowerPoint presentation. Unfortunately, as Liza mentioned, we're kind of strapped for time right now, and we will definitely include that in the follow-up email providing some resources. But you can definitely use PowerPoint presentations in Mimio, which allows you to not have to reinvent the wheel. Just use, if you're a PowerPointer, then you can simply use what you have. So we'll address that in follow-up. So thanks for that question. So now, as far as the webinar series go, we do offer professional development credits. So in the chat window, I'm going to throw the link there on the screen. If you click on that and follow it, whether now or later, this link will also be provided in the follow-up email we send you. You'll be up for getting a personalized certificate that you can use for your professional development. That'll be issued in about 24 to 48 hours. So check that out. We offer that in all of our webinars, including some of our training sessions. So there's that. As far as other items that Mimio offers, we have a pretty extensive set of free training resources, and you can find those right on our website. A lot of different things from the user guides to we have over 60 different video tutorials. Those are each 3 to 7 minutes in length. So there's one right in there that shows you how to import content you already have, like PowerPoints, Word files, things like that. We have a number of live quick learn training sessions, which I always recommend to people brand new to Mimio or wanting to check things out. They are live sessions. You get professional development credits also, and they're taught just by people just like Claire and Lindy, classroom teachers that love using technology in their classroom, love using the Mimio products, and you get that firsthand experience from them. So definitely check those out on the site. We also are able to utilize our Mimio partners to offer on-site training options. So I'm going to throw another link in there that is right on our website also, but I'd like to throw it at you. So lots of stuff there at the end. If you follow this reseller link, you'll be able to choose your state and find local Mimio authorized resellers in your neck of the woods and visit with them about maybe some on-site training options if you do need that. And then lastly, as you know, like I mentioned earlier, this is the 5th of 6 webinars that we're offering this spring season. Definitely check that out, and that is, in fact, is going to be exactly where you can find this recording available on demand, as well as all of our other ones when they're published. So check those out. Those are all the different training options that we can provide you. So there's that. As Lindy and Claire both extensively recognized throughout their presentation, MimioConnect is really a place that you want to go. It's a great place to start. It's a great place to continue to enhance what you're doing. You have wonderful teachers just like Lindy and Claire that are continuously adding content, sharing their knowledge, sharing their wealth. And those are all free resources you can take and make your own, take bits and pieces out you like. And like I mentioned, as far as adapting some lessons to make it even better, you have that option. So definitely check that out at MimioConnect.com. A wonderful place to go. Lastly, I'll leave you with, before we finalize, we do have a wide range of Mimio classroom products. So if you're interested in finding out more about what the options are to fit your needs, I'm going to throw another link in there that will take you to all those different options there. So specifically, Claire and Lindy mentioned Mimio Studio. They've talked about the Mimio Mobile, fantastic mobile app. It allows you to do collaboration, assessment, so many different things. And what's great about it is everything integrates right together with the one software package. So easy peasy. All right, well, it's time for us to shut this thing down. I'd like to say thank you for spending part of your afternoon and early evening, depending on your time zone, for joining all of us. Lindy and Claire, once again, thank you. Remember that all of our webinars are available on demand that you'll find us at Mimio.com/webinar link. You can also register for those sessions there. Our last webinar of the spring season is going to be in 2 weeks, Tuesday, May 6th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and that is going to be orchestrated by another wonderful classroom teacher, Paul Gigliotti. He's a phenomenal history teacher out of the Ohio area, past Teacher of the Year from Ohio. So he's going to be sharing various ways that he can collaborate or classroom collaboration using Mimio. So you don't want to miss that. And like all of our webinars, you can qualify for those PD points. So I'd like to encourage you also to get interactive with us on any of our social media channels, including Facebook, YouTube, as well as Twitter. So we hope to see you around. Hope for you to be engaged with what we can help you with, and we're always open ears, open minds to make things better for you. So without further ado, on behalf of Eliza, Claire, Lindy, and Mimio, I'd like to say thank you once again for joining us. You can, in order for us to close this recording down so we can send it to you, you can simply exit by closing your window or go to the File and Exit window, and that will get you out of here and allow us to wrap things up. And I'll stick around for another few minutes before I kick everybody out so we can wrap up the recording. So thank you again. Hope to see you around soon. Bye-bye, guys.